Hi, thanks for clicking into this video message today. Now, if you are in the over 50 crowd, that's okay. This is a 360-degree conversation about stewardship. Well, it's a 360-degree conversation, and it is one conversation, but really we have two languages that are going on in our congregation as well as in the wider culture. There's a language that the over 50 crowd speaks, and there's a language that the under 50 crowd speaks. And I want to talk to you today about how that affects our stewardship and our giving. Now, you may know that your parents and your grandparents really love the church, and they often give of their financial resources because they love the church so much. But they also give very often out of a sense of duty and obligation. In fact, some folks that almost never come to church who are in that over 50 crowd still give very generously to the congregation. And so they have a particular language that they speak when it comes to stewardship and church and when it comes to giving. What we know from studies that have been done and just our experience is that folks who are in the under 50 crowd no longer respond to those same concerns of duty and obligation. That doesn't mean that they don't love the church. It just means that they aren't going to give of their financial resources or give of their time just because their parents did or just because their parents taught them to do that. The other thing that we know about the under 50 crowd is that they're very generous. They really are generous of their time and their financial resources. But what we also know is that the under 50 crowd is not going to give to something out of duty and obligation. They're going to give because it gives meaning to their lives, gives meaning to the lives of their children, and those things are important. And the other thing that we know, and this probably is true for all our generations, is that we're all much more attracted to giving to causes that we clearly know and understand. For instance, folks in all generations are often very generous to things like the malaria campaign, Growing in God's Mission, Harvest Hope, and the Music Fund, and things like that. Well, you'll see in other parts of this newsletter, and I hope you will read it, you'll see that our stewardship team is cranking up our annual fall campaign. And to tell you the truth, what we're probably going to do will be to speak about stewardship again this year in language that is most comfortable for those who are in the over 50 generation. And so what I'm asking for you to do is to help us figure out ways in which we can speak your language. Help us to find ways that we can do things differently. We know that things need to be done differently, but frankly we aren't sure what those differences are. And that's really where you come in. We need you to help us with that. What gives you joy in giving? How does your church create meaning for you as well as for your children? We want to hear those kinds of things. We know that we all need to be better at telling our story, at telling what the gospel means to us, how Christ affects our lives, and how we live as brothers and sisters with each other in this community. So that's what I wanted to tell you about, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. Help us as we move forward with translating the joy of giving, of generous giving, the language of stewardship for your generation. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and now it's your turn.